I'm Molly Boyd. I'm the English Communication and Journalism Librarian here at the University of Arkansas, and I'm here to talk to you today about using library resources to do your research. So to get us oriented, who can tell me what the difference is between a public library like the Fayetteville Public Library and an academic library like the University of Arkansas? Peter's shaking his head. He doesn't know. Anyone? Well, for the purposes of this discussion, there are two major differences. The first is the populations we serve. So the Fayetteville Public Library serves everybody within the region who has a connection to the library. So it's people who live, work, or worship in the Fayetteville greater region. Let's put it that way. So because of that, they serve everybody in the general public from ages 0 to 99. By contrast, the University of Arkansas Library serves the student, faculty, and staff of the university. So it's a much more focused constituency. This leads to the second major difference, which is what we collect or the purposes that we collect materials. So the public library collects materials that will be of use to the general public, which could be things like how-to books, how to do your taxes, genealogical research. Hold, please. Okay, genealogical research or popular fiction, books on tape, all kinds of things that are meant to improve the lives of the general public. The University of Arkansas Libraries, on the other hand, collects scholarly materials and materials that are meant to enable the teaching, learning, and research that goes on at the University of Arkansas. So our focus is much narrower, but by contrast, our collection is much deeper because we, a lot of teaching and research goes on at the University of Arkansas. So we have to have a lot of highly technical information and tools that students can use to learn before they get into their respective fields. So I'm spending a lot of time telling you that so that you understand that when you search for a topic on Google, who does Google serve? The entire world. So that you're going to get very general information. In addition, Google provides information, links to information that is freely available on the web. By contrast, the library subscribes to more than $7 million per year of contract databases and journals on your behalf. So our information is behind a paywall, whereas Google's is what is out there freely available for everyone. Not saying that it's different quality, I'm just saying that the materials that you find through Google are of very general, very broad nature, and usually will not suffice to answer the research questions that professors give to you at the university. So I'm going to share my screen, hopefully, if this works out okay. So can everybody see the library's homepage? Good. So this is the library's homepage. You get here by either typing in libraries.uark.edu, plural, because there's 5 libraries on campus, or you can just Google Library UARK and it'll get you here. But there's 2 major ways of thinking of the library's homepage that are very useful. The first is that it is the gateway or the doorway that leads you behind that paywall. So it actually authenticates you as a UARK user when you visit the library's homepage and access the collections. The authentication process you may be unaware of it because it takes place behind the scenes magically when you type in or when you enter into one of the databases. It checks your IP address if you're on campus and authenticates you as a UARK user without you having to do anything, and you just shoot right through behind the paywall. So you may not notice that it's happening. If you are off campus or for some functions and databases, you may be asked to log in one time as a UARK user. And this will be your UARK username and password, the same one that you use for email or Blackboard or MyConnect or any of the university functions. As long as you keep your browser open, you won't have to log in again. So that's the first useful way of thinking of the library's webpage. The second useful way of thinking of the library's webpage is that it's a toolbox. There are lots of research tools available to you. As you progress in your academic career, you will learn more and more of those and figure out which ones are most useful to answer research questions, and more complex research questions require different kinds of tools. But we're going to talk about 4 tools today because they most often will answer the research questions of students in this class. So are you ready? Tool number 1 is Quick Search. This is the broadest search that you can do. It's the default search on the library's homepage. It's broad because it searches simultaneously multiple databases as well as all of the materials in the library's catalog. So who can tell me what a database is?
A collection of information.
Oh, very good. Who said that? Parker? Thank you, Parker. Okay, so databases are at root just a collection of data. So you have to go back to the way before and think about how when things were first starting to be made in electronic format so that you could access them through the computer. A database was a collection of electronic materials for a specific purpose or just in any way, right? So the libraries became or started to use the term database to designate things that were separate from the books that you could pull off of the shelf. In other words, collections that you could access through the computer. And so publishers sell collections or materials to us in database. Now they're called databases, which means materials that are on a specific subject or for a specific purpose. So we have 399 databases that we currently subscribe to, and they are all on a wide range of materials. Like for instance, there could be a database, or there is a database of images that the art students use. There's a database of materials that nurses use for research so that we have it for the training of our nursing students. There's databases that talk about company profiles and various aspects of stocks for the business students. And these are highly specific databases that are used by practitioners in the field of business. So therefore we have them so our students can learn them before they go out into the business world. So lots of databases. Quick Search searches through many of them simultaneously, not all of them. Who can give me a search term that we can use to do a sample search for Quick Search? Anyone? All right, well, if you guys are not going to suggest one, then I'm going to use one of my favorites, which is space tourism. So I just type the word in there, click enter, and then we get to the Quick Search results page. So Lots of things are happening on the quick search results page, and I'm just going to go through a few of them with you so that you know how to manipulate the results that you get. I use the term space tourism because it's a nice complex term that means a very specific thing, but it's very easy for a computer to misunderstand. So there's two keys to a successful search. First, using the right search term, and secondly, using the right search tool. So we're trying out search tool number 1, quick search today, but this term, space tourism, could easily be misunderstood by the computer. So when you're talking to people, you can usually suss out and understand what their intention is by the context or by their body language. All sorts of things go into human communication that lacks when you're talking to a computer. The computer can only interpret what you input into it, and it's very literal. So the term space tourism, when I type it in, I'm just telling the computer, give me results that relate to space and tourism.
There we go, y'all. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the results you might expect are not what's are going to be displayed in many cases. This, of course, is what we expect because we have an AI undergirding the search engine for quick search, and it's pretty smart. But quite a few of these 899,000 results are not going to be about space tourism that we're thinking of when we put in this search term. So there's a couple of tricks.
Annoying on my part. This better. Oh no.
So there are a couple of things that we can do to change our search term to make it more accurate. And the first of these is we look at this term and we say, okay, this is a phrase. So I'm going to put quotation marks around any phrase. This is a command that tells the search engine, we want to see these two words adjacent to one another in this order. So it's going to be much more likely to be information about this topic, space tourism, the topic that we intend to find. So we do see changes in the list of results just by adding that. But also, this topic is one that can be easily be misunderstood by the search engine because it could relate to the hospitality industry, which talks about tourism and it talks about space. It's not the outer space that we're thinking of when we use the phrase space tourism. So we're going to tell the search engine we want not to include hospitality. I think I spelled that correctly. So maybe I didn't. Hospitality. Okay, so in this case, we're using a Boolean operator, B-O-O-L, from Professor Boole, who invented these commonly used words as shortcuts to specific command codes for search engines. And these include the Boolean operators and, not, or, that helps you make a search more specific by telling the search engine to search for things in a very specific way. Another way that we can change the results that we see in our results list is we can use limiters. Limiters are in the left-hand menu on the quick results page, and they are limit, L-I-M-I-T, they will limit the results that you see. So we'll look at these. The first set of limiters are things, quick links to things students often request, which includes full text online, which translates to, I don't want to get out of my jammies and go to the library and pick up a book off the shelf. So give me everything that I can look at on my computer right now. The second two are scholarly and peer-reviewed or peer-reviewed, because often your professors will ask you to limit your research to peer-reviewed. Who can tell me what peer review is?
Reviewed by a peer.
Yeah, so you ask these tricksy questions, right? But you are exactly right. So you may have actually had this process in a class where you circulated papers amongst the students and you read somebody else's paper rather than everybody just turning in their papers to the professor. This is called peer review. A similar process happens in the scholarly publishing industry, except it's kind of a misnomer because it really means expert review. So in the peer review process in scholarly publishing, let's say I write a paper, I submit it to a peer reviewed journal. The editor of that journal will distribute that paper to experts in the field who will take a close critical look at that paper for its scholarly rigor, for the scientific methodology, for the way that the arguments are constructed and concluded, and whether or not it meets the criteria that's been established from that publishing journal. If they determine that it passes muster and that it's fit to enter into the scholarly discourse, they will recommend that paper for publication. So many, many more papers are rejected at that level than are accepted. So therefore, it's considered to be the cream of the crop in scholarly publishing. And sometimes for that reason, your professors will require that you limit your research to peer reviewed, which means the best of the best. And this is the really easy way to do that. You just click this link, or you can look for this icon in your list of results that shows you peer review. The second set of limiters is format type. This is the form that this material takes in the library's collections. And I'm going to click more to show you. There are things that you expect to see like books and journal articles, but there are things that you might not expect to see like patents or streaming videos, cool things that that the library's collections has that relates to that specific topic. So in this case, I'm going to exclude newspaper articles and I'm going to exclude books because I'm not really interested in those things for this particular demonstration. And so you will see now in format type that those format types have a line through them to show that I've excluded those from my list of results. The third set of limiters is publication date, not the date that something occurred, but when something was published. So for some research questions, you might be interested only in the most recent information. There are quick links to the last 12 months, last 3 years, last 5 years, or you can put in a specific date. Like last week, I was working with a student in social work who had to do a literature review from 2010 to present. And she was very happy when I told her all she had to do was put 2010 in this search bar in order for her search results to sort from 2010 to present. The next two set of limiters are very useful to help you narrow down a broad topic or to find a way to talk about a specific topic. So for instance, discipline is related to field of study. It's kind of similar. So you can think about, when I'm talking about space tourism, am I more interested in the engineering aspect of it, the business aspect of it, the economics of it, geography, which is kind of interesting. I wonder what that has to do with space tourism, sciences, and you can click more to get even more disciplines pop up here. Subject terms is, what's the focus of the article? Is it on something that's related to the topic that I'm trying to find, or is it just something that mentions the topic that I'm trying to find? So if you're lucky, you will actually have a topic for the thing that you're trying to find, and you can just click there, and now you know that the focus of the articles that are presented are actually going to be on your topic. So from the middle column, those were the limiters. The middle column lists your results of things that you can find, research that supports your research question. And there are a couple of things from the list of results that I want to point out to you before we go to a database and look at an actual article. The first is this citation generator. So it's a little icon that looks like quotation marks. When you click on it, it will bring up this pop-up window. Then you can choose from this drop-down menu which citation style you have been told you need to use for your paper, and it's correcting itself now. Was that last night or this morning when the citation manager was throwing out incomplete citations? Always check your citations, but you can just copy and paste this into your references or works cited page. Do remember that you will need to change the formatting to match the style. So if it's supposed to be indented for the first line or hanging indent, you have to add that on after you put it into your word processor. Another thing that is cool about the list of results will be these icons that you see in some of the articles bottom right of the list. And so these are what we call impact factors. So the first measures is the scholarly metrics. It says it's a rectangle. It says Web of Science. It says that this particular article has been cited or quoted in 10 other scholarly works, books, or articles. This one, 21. So this is a measure of how this article has entered into the public discourse for this topic. The second, more colorful wheel is what we call alt metrics. It measures how this article is being discussed in the public sphere. This could be through blogs, newspapers, tweets about social media. If it appears in public policy, it will appear in this second number. Each one of these can be clicked through to see the actual articles that have that information. So that's useful. And it's not necessarily a measure of whether or not it's a good article, but it is a visual way to see how this article has entered into the public discourse or the scholarly discourse. Okay, so let's just try some of these. Each of the red on this page is a link, and we can just click on the title that will take us to the actual database. So now finally we're in one of those 399 databases. So this database has some, it doesn't, is that just an abstract? Where's the real thing? I'm trying to see if there is an easy way to get the real article. But I'm not seeing it on this particular database. I wonder if the PDF is the real one. Oh, yeah, there's the full text. Okay, so that database was not particularly a full database. So let's try this one. Okay, cool. So Find It is a helper search engine. So you would think that these 399 databases that we have would have standardized search architecture so they could all be connected directly to the search in quick search. But that's not the case, sadly. Instead, we have a helper search engine that tries to help us find works in databases that don't match the search architecture of quick search. And this is called Find It. That's our helper search engine. So don't think when you hit this page, when you click on a link, that you're not able to get that article. Just think, oh, the Find It is trying to help me find that article. So there are three major forms that the Find It page will take. The first is this one, which is happy, which says, the full text is available online. All you have to do is click this link. So we'll click it and see if we get there. And sure enough, there we go. This is in Nature. Nature is a huge database, by the way. The second form that the Find It page may take is the search architecture for the database is so different that we can't provide you with a direct link to the article. Instead, we're just going to provide you with a direct link to the journal itself. And this will be a big red browse journal. So if we click that, it will take us to the journal itself. And then we'll have to either search for that article by title or browse the issue just like we did in the bad old days when we went to the shelf and said, okay, issue 531, pull it off the shelf, page number 155, there's the article. The third option that you will see on the Find It page will be order via interlibrary loan. So interlibrary loan is exactly what it sounds like. It's a collection of libraries that loan materials to users of other libraries. And if you click that button from the Find It page, it will actually fill out the interlibrary loan form for you. So all you have to do is click submit. And that's very quick, free to you. It's a useful service. So let me see if I get another. I keep trying to find one that goes to a database. Okay, this is Science Direct. Okay, so Science Direct has some similar functions that we saw in Quick Search, which includes the citation. It has a really cool feature that you will see in most of the large databases, which is recommended articles or similar articles or find more like this. There'll be something, some phrase like that that shows you that they've done a search using the keywords and ideas presented in this article and shown you other similar articles. This is really helpful and a shortcut way of doing research. So if you find an article that helps to answer your research question, look to the side to see if they have this function so that you don't have to filter through more results to find something quite similar to it. You can just see what the results are already. Note that these results are only from this one database. Our quick search results are from many different databases. So that's narrowing your search further. But they will be different if you try a different database. Most of the big database have the same limiters that you see in quick search. And so it's nice because once you learn the conventions of how to work those databases, then it doesn't matter what database you're in because you can figure out how to get the material or information that you need. So that's quick search. It's the broadest search and the default search on the library's homepage. Does anybody have any questions? There's one more thing about quick search I want to show you before we go to our search tool number 2. So I tell my students when they start a speech or they start a paper, it's always good to start with the definition because this lays a foundation between you and the audience and helps prevent miscommunication and misunderstandings. So in this circumstance, the way that you would get a use quick search to get a definition of a term is you put your term into the search box, and then instead of clicking enter or hitting search, you go underneath the box and click to limit your results to reference. So reference is just a super secret librarian code word that means dictionaries, encyclopedias, and handbooks. So we'll click search after we've clicked the reference, and then we get these results. So the caveat here is that the libraries have thousands of dictionaries and encyclopedias. You have to choose from this list the one that will provide the definition that is useful for the context that you're trying to give your presentation or paper. So you want to choose a dictionary that corresponds to the angle of research that you are undertaking on this particular topic. You can do that by changing your search terms in the search bar. So space tourism and business, or space tourism and engineering, whichever aspect you're interested in regarding it. Or you can do just like we did before and use the limiters in the left-hand menu to limit your results. And then choose an appropriate dictionary to get your definition from. Encyclopedias tend to have a broader overview of a topic than a dictionary, which tends to be more concise and precise. For that reason, sometimes dictionaries are easier to get definitions from that you can plop into the beginning of your speech or paper. So any questions about that? Definitions. You remember how I got there? Just clicked reference underneath the search bar and then enter my search term and enter. Okay, are you ready for search tool number 2? Hearing no objection, I'm going to keep on going. So let's say you do quick search. The keys to a successful search are using the right search tool, using the right search term. You use quick search, and maybe it's not the right search tool. Maybe the number of results that you get are too broad, and even using the limiters, you can't filter out all of the off-topic results that you get. One way that you can try to get your search more narrow and more specific from the outset is to do a search within a specific database that's on the topic that you're trying to search. So the way that you do that is from this drop-down menu to the left of the search bar, you can choose any of these choices and alter the way the search functions. We're going to choose databases from this list, and see the search bar has now changed to say find databases by name or description. But because most students, when they're just starting their research, don't know the name of the database that's suitable to find information on that topic, instead I'm showing you this tool, which is the databases by title and subject. So we're just going to click here instead of putting our search term in the search box. And it's going to take us to this page, which is an A to Z list of 399 databases that we subscribe to. And here's the tool. Tool number 2 is to use this drop-down menu to select a particular subject that you want to search for your topic. And in this case, I know I don't have to browse. I know that I want to try space and planetary sciences for my topic. So I click there, and then it's going to show me only the 4 databases that are suitable for search in this area. Now we could try the NASA database, which is really cool, but it is so highly technical that it's doubtful that it will provide information that is useful for the purposes of this assignment. Instead, we're going to try Web of Science. That's the second best bet listed. And we're going to put in our search term. And we get 7,230 results. But look at the quality of the results. This would be, I think, very useful for somebody giving a speech on this concept. The paradoxes of space tourism in the Anthropocene, the first decade of commercial space tourism, pilots, and legal conundrums for space tourism. So all of those are likely sources that will provide rich information to help you construct your research. Notice that this database has similar limiters. And we should also be able to find the citations for them. We may have to actually go to the article to, oh my goodness. They're killing me. Oh, okay. So if this is just the summary or the abstract of the article. Notice though that it says full text at publisher. we can actually click here and go to the full text of this article, or we can use the Find It link to get us information for that. Oh, and this does have the, no, that's not going to be the citation. I'm not seeing the citation function for this particular journal, which is interesting because I know they have them in Web of Science. But we can always go back to the quick search and get the citation there from that citation generator. So databases by subject is a list of individual databases. So if we did our search through Web of Science and it didn't really find what we wanted, then we would come back and click another database title, and that would take us to a separate database, and we have to redo our search again to see what's available in this database. Notice how they're very different. It's because the databases have different collections in them. So any questions about databases by subject, search tool number 2? Okay, hearing no objections, we're going to go back to the library's homepage, and I'm going to show you search tool number 3. So from the library's menu, you see research guides. Research guides are web pages that have been constructed by librarians to help students with research. So there could be research on a specific topic, research using a particular research tool, or research for a specific class or assignment. So we're going to click on research guides. Like databases by subject, we can browse through by subject the research guides that are available. But for this class, we can just type in the name of the class and go to the research guide for this class. So this research guide has information such as the information that I gave to you today, including using quick search, using those encyclopedias and dictionaries for the definitions. And this is a page that talks about what things you might find on Google versus what things you might find at the libraries. So remember, I told you that there are 2 keys to a successful search: using the right search tool and using the right search term. Sometimes Google is the right search tool. And so this chart tries to walk you through, when you're looking for X, this is the tool that you use. There's also a page in the library guide on using visual aids and images. Starts out talking about the copyright and how we're all obligated or bound to the copyright laws in the US. And you agreed to that when you signed your Code of Computing Practices at the university. And then it has these links to image databases and stock images that you can find that are within the fair use of data's images and visual aids like charts and graphs that you can use and not run afoul of the man. This is a page that you can remember for future reference. It has lots of information on local topics. You may be assigned later a topic that has asked you to do research on local topics. And so we have quick links to a lot of the places that you can find local information there. The last 2 pages are about the APA citation style, how to do it, how to use those citation generators in order to get the citations, and also why we ask you to cite, which boils down to you're expected, when you engage in the scholarly communication, to provide a breadcrumb trail so that anybody can follow your research and validate and replicate it. So each of the fields has developed these style guides or ways of presenting citations that's meant to be completely unambiguous and also serve the needs of their research community. So that's why we have the citation styles and the formats that they are. One other page is called using databases, and I just want to show you really quickly. Here is a list of commonly used databases for this class, but this one, CQ Researcher, I want to point out, it's different than the ones we did our searches on. It's a collection of research reports on topics that are in the public discourse, that are being debated as part of public policy. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm just going to put in our search term into this. And so we have this is the way a typical research report for CQ researchers looks. So they have all of the same functions. They ask a particular research question: is a new global race inevitable in this case? And then they have the introduction, overview, background, and current situation. And then they also have this feature, which is very useful for this class, which is called the pro-con. So if your professor has asked you to provide a balanced perspective or an opposing viewpoint, this is a really good place to look for them. If CQ Researcher has produced a research report on your topic, these pro-con essays are very thorough and very succinct representations of both sides of an issue. So they're very useful in providing a good overview of those opposing viewpoints. So this is CQ Researcher, a useful tool. So the research guide for this class was tool number 3. Does anybody have any questions about it? So we got there by clicking research guides on the library's menu. And then you can just search for a particular guide, or you can browse by subject. So that's tool number 3. Tool number 4, are you guys ready for the 4th and final tool? Hearing no dissent. I will show you. Let's say you try your quick search, you tried the limiters, you even tried databases by subject, and you could not get that magic combination of the right search tool and the right search term. Somehow or another you're missing, so that the search results are not producing what you expect or what you need. You can always ask us. So this is from the library's menu. We'll just click Ask Us and it will take us to this page. So there's a couple of things going on this page, and I'm gonna point out a couple of things. The first is on the left, you see the Ask Us 24/7 chat. You can just ask a question, put in your name, email, type your question, and click Start Chat, and you will instantly be talking to a research librarian. I say instantly, it may take a couple of seconds. Research librarian, and they will help you figure out how to make an effective search strategy. So we belong to a consortia of libraries around the world that provide this service. So when we're off work, people in different time zones will answer the questions of our students and vice versa. So don't be startled if when you jump on chat, somebody says, hey, I'm in New Zealand or I'm in Hawaii, because of this worldwide consortia. On the right-hand column, there are all of the different ways that you can contact us. And I just want to show you this. Find your subject librarian. If I click there, it's going to take me to a page of all of the subject librarians listed. So each of the fields on campus has a specific subject librarian assigned to it, so that that subject librarian can be familiar with the questions that are asked by students, familiar with the assignments that are given by professors, familiar with the research tools and the collections for those particular subjects. So I do communication, journalism, and English. Each of the different fields of study are listed here, and you can use this list to both find the subject librarian for your field of study, to ask for help if you need help with a research project, or you can use this list to find a subject librarian who can help you with the research project for a class that, you know, doesn't have to be your major, but if you've been assigned a research problem and you're having difficulty with it, the research librarians are happy to help. Any questions about that? The mostly silent crowd. That concludes my spiel on how to use the library resources. I do want to show you right quickly, though. Let's just go to Google for ha-has and type in space tourism and see what kinds of information that you get. And I just want to do this so that you can see the difference between the more technical, more in-depth, more scholarly presentation of material and what you find at Google. Because they're so broad, right? They serve the entire world. No questions? Do you all feel confident that you can attack your next research assignment and find good quality sources for your, okay. All right, well, that's the goal. So we'll call it a success. You guys have a great day.